And we are live. How
And
you
we,
doing there, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It's NBA Media Day, not just for the Pistons, but for the rest of the league. So there was
Sir, yes, sir.
a lot of great moments, a lot of newsworthy segments, a lot of conversations to be had.
Hmm.
Guys, it is a great time. Is there an actual guess at the time you guys plan to go live? Well, hey Chuck, it's right now. Okay. You like that? There's a
Oh
guess.
man, yo, what's good, Chuck?
Here's a
What is good,
guesstimation
brother?
right now, but that's okay. It was also ultimately a media day for our Detroit Pistons as well. You know, the team that we're covering this year and going into our first full season covering together, and it's exciting times, man. It's
Very
exciting
excited.
times. So
Very excited.
lots to discuss, which is
Yep.
why we are alive.
And definitely, I guess before we get started, I want to say shout out to our full coverage team. Man, today's been a day, and there's a lot of people who play some important roles behind the scenes to make sure that everything and all the moving parts that we have going on, no matter how big or how small, people might think that is a lot of people playing a lot of important roles. Shout out Downtown Deuce too. He had the Woodward Pistons Instagram rocking today. Created a couple nice pieces as well for that, and the whole team in general was keeping everybody informed on any breaking news, any breaking quotes, and things of that nature. I was tuned in, included into the press conference as a Woodward Pistons or Woodward Sports beat reporter, Pistons beat reporter, and Sean Murphy here as our associate editor of Woodward Pistons. He wrote a couple. You wrote one article. You're working on the second one now, right?
Yep. Yep. So
Yep.
I had one article that came out earlier today, which was actually about something that came out before the media day press conference availabilities, and it is something that we're actually going to be covering extensively over the course of the season is the Bob Lanier tribute that they'll be doing this year. So the Pistons announced their plans for their tribute to Bob Lanier. So they're going to be wearing the number 16 stripe on the
I
top
like
right
it.
portion of their jersey,
I like
which
it.
is a great tribute to have both Bill Russell and Bob Lanier on their jersey the entire season. Two of the greatest bigs in the history of the game, two guys that are ambassadors for the game of basketball. Absolutely all for that, just for the league, but also just for the Pistons franchise as well. But in addition, you look at what I'll be writing about later tonight, and what will be coming out probably later tonight or early tomorrow morning for some of you is going to be about Killian Hayes, and specifically what we can expect from him this year. I think one of the really interesting things of this media scrum was Killian Hayes and him being adamant and him being candid about being, knowing what he needs to do, saying how he needs to improve his game.
Yeah.
And it's something that you and I have touched on a lot. It's something the Table Talk crew has touched on a lot. I know you and I have had a lot of debates on Table Talks about Killian Hayes and where he needs to go, but
Yes, sir.
Kool-Aid, I think there's one thing that you and I can agree on. Killian Hayes seems confident. And also, I think the fact that they got that contract extension announced for him today as well, the fact that he's going to be on the team seemingly next season too, he has
Mm-hmm.
the runway and the confidence from the team to say,
Yeah.
hey, go play ball. We're confident in you. If
Hold
there
on.
was
One other
any
thing.
message,
One other thing, Sean. Who else also just got traded?
Saban Lee.
Saban Lee. It's on Killian Hayes now. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that because what you want an organization to do for a guy who might be dealing with aggression or confidence issues, give him the keys. Give
Now,
him the confidence.
Kool-Aid, I want to point out one comment in here real quick because this is going to be a largely serious thing where we're talking
I already
basketball.
know. Go
But
ahead.
Marvin said, "Wait,
I already know.
Kool-Aid is going with the young Kobe look," and
I've been hearing this
I
since I was a
love
kid, bro.
and I find it awful generous when I say it with love, but I find it generous that they went with the young Kobe look because I feel like you look like '09 Kobe with Ron Artest on his team, like
Hey, let's
having the
go.
ball going like, yeah, you know what I'm talking
Hey,
about?
hey, look, wait for the Woodward Pistons leagues. Wait till we start our little basketball leagues and everything. Yeah, yeah. You
It's gonna be
guys,
great. It's gonna be great. You're gonna show
yeah.
that Mamba mentality
Hey,
on the
it's
court.
business. It's
Yeah,
business
it's gonna be
though.
great.
You guys see Sean? Look at the hat. It's about Detroit. Hey, let's get it. But the Pistons right now, it's about the coverage of the team. Trying to bring a different professional outlook to it, so that you all can get what the team is saying, best disseminated, our opinions, our thoughts,
Well,
and
it also
in
too,
our interactions with you all.
yeah. Well, also too, just know like this is like it's kind of it's a shift in mentality in the sense that like we're still going to be fans at the core, and we're still going to be like we're like this all started from a fandom and a passion for being Pistons fans, but at the root of it, we're intending to cover this team with the passion of a fan and the intentionality and the critique of a journalist, of a beat reporter, um of of respected publications. So
Right.
with that in mind, that's kind of how we want to approach this media day too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
man,
got these
I'm
Killian
really excited
Hayes
to get
quotes,
into it.
man.
Don't get me
Because
wrong though, we're still going to be idiots. That's 100% going to
yeah,
happen.
still definitely going to, and it's what we should do. We
Yeah.
should take this serious if we're going to, um, cover this team. This
Yeah.
team is taking this serious. They got Troy Weaver, Coach Casey. They got the right players in here, and just hearing these guys talk, just hearing these guys, just player after player after player. Even going into like Troy Weaver and Coach Casey, they set the tone for media day. Stop, Sean. I already see. I'm gonna put it up there, man. I'm gonna put it up there,
Okay.
just so we can get this over with.
Okay. Yep. I don't know if Kool-Aid looks more over your Pistons.
I like that one though. I like that one though, boy.
Like,
Hey, shout out to the big boy, Uncle Eldon, man. I like that one.
oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. But now that we got some of the joking out of the way, let's say one more thing real quick before we talk basketball. Appreciate y'all being here, man. Thank you all so much for pulling in on a random stream on a Monday night. Just know if this is your first time tuning into Woodward Pistons, be sure you subscribe because we are going to be having a plethora of content coming out this season. And I would be remiss if before we talk basketball, if we didn't quick highlight and mention the announcements that were made today about the additions to our Woodward Pistons team and the squad that we have. So,
oh, you're reading my mind.
it's what we do.
To that.
It's what we do. It's what we do.
Brother.
So with that,
you already got it. I love you, Sean.
Man. Yeah. Look at that, man. This is what we do. So,
man.
So we would like to announce that we got our guy. First of all, Carl Collins is officially a part of the Woodward Pistons family as an editor and part of the Table Talks. In addition, we also have MR Prod Design joining our graphics team. So I want to highlight, we have MR Prod Design and Naranjan on our team doing graphics for From Half Court and Woodward Pistons. We have the infinity gauntlet of graphic designers on Pistons Twitter.
Those guys, man. I'm grateful. That's all I can say. I'm grateful. The team is solid and the team is passionate, and it's about the Pistons. They're resonating with what this team is doing. If they weren't moving in the right direction, I could understand if support was kind of palpable, but man, we see the support because of what this team is doing, and it's awesome to see, y'all. We lost, I thought, a whole generation. I really did.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But in addition, two great writers, two great people that are part of our team as well. Thomas Chavez, he's been doing writing with Woodward Sports for quite a while now, but officially being ingratiated and part of the Woodward Pistons team, having a little bit more consistent content that he'll be doing with us this season. Super grateful for him and everything that he's done. He's an MSU sports journalism student and has a bright future, and we're grateful to be working with him on some stuff this season. Going to be doing some collaborative articles with him that we're super excited about. But also, our guy Steve is officially part of Woodward Pistons, and he's going to be doing some draft coverage with Woodward Pistons, but also is an official regular on the Table Talks as well. So super excited to have him. But also, just to show a rundown of the rest of our squad, Jeff and myself, of course, are very much here. I am the associate editor, so Kool-Aid and I are shaping the vision and the direction of our writing for Woodward Pistons. So any of that, be sure you're going to woodwardsports.com, and any Pistons related article, Kool-Aid and I are overseeing the direction of that. So we are putting in a lot of work and very, very close working together on that. But also, we, like I said, we got Naranjan on graphics or from half court. We have Downtown Deuce doing Woodward Pistons socials. He's doing music. He's on Table Talk. We still have Lexi with us each and every week on Table Talk. And then, of course, our guy Kool-Aid is going to be holding it down, being the beat reporter. But also, we're going to be having some guests on here from time to time as well. We're appreciative of Rod Beard, but there's even awesome people like Mike Curtis who will be more of a regular as well. We'll even have people like Zarik on Table Talks from time to time. We got a crew, man. We have an absolute
shout out
crew.
to Raj too, man. He's Rogelio. He's of Woodward Tigers. He's done a lot right now to support our writing team and get all of us motivated, and beyond that, get our stuff out there and looking good and editing from a from a standpoint of making sure any mistakes we have are cleaned up and such. It goes a long way. So, like I told you guys, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are doing a lot of things to assist us. We just wanted to make sure we took the time to thank those people, shout them out. And I can't wait till we get Jeff and Deuce into more of these. But to be able to start this off with Sean is something special. Like I know with Woodward Sports in general, Jonah was kind of the first one, Andrew Jonah, to hold down the Pistons writing. I was brought on to be the Woodward Pistons beat reporter, and then Sean came on to do writing and has ascended. He's great at what he does. So let's get into it, brother.
Let's get into it, man. To summarize it,
we got it.
God dang it, man. I tried to do the auto tune.
Bro, the Chipmunks came out for Media Day. Let's go. I wanted to start with these quotes because Coach Casey and Troy Weaver, man, listen, they set the tone from the beginning of training camp. And they both stated this, that the Pistons are ready to compete every single night. Now, all summer, we continue to kind of go back and forth. Where's this rebuild going? Where are they at? Are they where the Cavs are? Are they, kind of taking the same trajectory of the Phoenix Suns? Are they taking the trajectory of the Memphis Grizzlies? These are some of the teams we talked about. Troy Weaver himself said that we're in the competing stage and that we are entering a stage that the Memphis Grizzlies have been in, but that the Memphis Grizzlies are not entering what you call the contending stage. Listen, Sean, we were just talking about this last week and the weeks before and the months before. Are we underestimating what this team is capable of doing? And we kind of went back and forth and we say, they're young, they're inexperienced. All of these knocks that would generally, or these things that would generally hold a team back, Casey, Weaver, and all the players attacked all those notions. And they say, yeah, we're young, but we're talented. We're young, but we're high basketball IQ. We're young, but we're scrappy. We're young, but we're defense. We're young. Yeah, but I know we need to be confident and aggressive. They're saying all the right things, man. They definitely came out, coached up the right way. And based on what we know they were working on all summer, they went to work at their deficiencies.
Yeah. And
that's not the sign of a young team. That's a sign of a mature team.
And to me, the big thing that stood out was that every guy that came up on the podium had a sense of, I know what I need to do. I knew where I needed to work on this summer. I knew where my game needs to take the next level. And listening to Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey, there was kind of a shared sense of a lot of, the expectations that we had kind of set as on Table Talks on Woodward Pistons podcast on From Half Court. A lot of what we kind of said this year was we kind of feel like the Pistons are going to be clawing for that play-in spot with a team like Orlando. Dwayne Casey said today, he feels like they're going to be clawing for the play-in spot with Orlando. Troy Weaver said today, they asked him, is the expectation a playoff, like a playoff, like securing the playoffs, winning a playoff series? He wouldn't go that far, but he would say it's about competing every night. It's about playing competitive basketball. And it seems like it's pretty clear that this team doesn't care if they make the playoffs this year. What they care about is if they're playing competitive basketball, if they're playing important basketball games. And what does that look like? That means down to the end of their season, they're playing games, whether it's in the play-in tournament, whether it's the final week of the regular season, whether it's even round one of the playoffs. They are playing games of consequence that matter. that
Wait,
have
look,
levity to them.
I thought that this team, Coach Casey and Weaver, they started off with this team wants to be competitive every night. We're not necessarily in the contending phase, we're in the competing phase. And the players, they actually took this thing way more forward, and all of them started saying, "Nah, we want the playoffs. We want the play-in. That's what we're gunning for. That's the goal." The quote of the day for me came from Jaden Ivey. He said, "Trying to get to the playoffs this year. That's the main goal. I don't really have anything else on my mind but winning." And that last sentence, that last part, that was the theme of a lot of the players. Listen, we are here to win. We are here to win. We draft. Look, we're here to win. That's not my job. That's Troy's job. My job is to get better and to come out here and be a baller. And I do think it's huge that they went and picked up all those options today.
Yeah, but in addition, it was about talking about the it was talking about wanting to bring excitement back to the city of Detroit and bringing
Yes.
excitement
Yep.
back as far as what they're producing on the basketball court. So, listen, it's a lot of what we, kind of like what we were speculating this offseason. It's kind of a lot of, the feelings that we had. But I think the other thing that you said too, Troy Weaver not only said today that he wanted to stick with who he has and stick with our guys, but he also showed it with his actions, with announcing today before the press conference, so that there is no doubt, so that there's no speculation that Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, and even Cade Cunningham all had a year picked up on their contract. So Cade Cunningham,
that's a beautiful thing for Pistons fans in this team.
So breaking news, Cade will be back next year. What a shocker. But Killian Hayes, a guy that we talked about how this is a make or break year for him, the Pistons committed to him today. And Killian came out and said, "Listen, I know what I need to do. I know what I needed to work on. I knew what this summer needed to be. And that's what I did." And what I will say about Killian, he looks like he gained weight this offseason. I know we talk about how Cade looks different. Killian looks different too. And in addition, he says he feels confident in his shot. He feels ready and where he's at. And he was even candid and honest about how these first two seasons weren't what he expected. But who was patient with that? Troy Weaver. Who was patient with that? Dwayne Casey. And they're excited about the guard lineups that they have, and clearly seem like they knew they had some inclination that this could be a year where Killian could thrive. So I think with the team committing to him for another season, with picking up that contract, I think with them saying we're rolling with who we have, we want to start competing now, with even them saying that they're counting on those guys like Killian to be a defensive leader, an anchor. Like, they're talking about Killian being one of our vocal leaders on the defensive end.
That's what Killian said he wants to be. Killian Hayes on his role this season, quote unquote. Firstly, being that defensive voice, that leader on defense. He didn't even start with playmaking. He said, "No, first," and he just said it with such a swag. Like, when the videos come out, you'll see it. It's not like he's trying to conjecture or play to your hearts or anything. It looks like it's what he's really setting out to be this season, and that's be that leader on defense. And we've seen those, not just shades of it. Everyone has stated his defense is really good. He tries on defense. So it was good to see him come out and say that I'm trying to lead on defense. And it's a beautiful thing to hear from Killian Hayes. On offense, you're right. He got into really himself today, handling the fact that he knows I need to be more aggressive. I need to be more confident. And he said, the first two seasons wasn't ideal or what I was expecting, but you learn and you grow. I know we won out of Killian, and we look at how long it took Chauncey Billups to catch on, and it took the right situation for him to flourish. With Killian Hayes, it's not even like he came into the NBA with, the full gamut of offseason, summer leagues and training camps and things of that nature. He now has that. Think about the levels of confidence he's now able to grow just because of the work he's putting in, the foundation that he's building.
Now, it is important to note everyone's most confident day of the season is media day. Because
hold on, whoa. Say that one into some special effect, Sean.
Yeah. The most confident day is media day.
Let them know, man.
Just
You're
in
right.
case you need to hear that louder, because people are expecting that day. That is the day when you come in. It's like your first day of school. You're getting the syllabus. Class looks like it's going to be a breeze. All you know is what's expected of you, right? And everyone can look at what's expected of you on paper and go, yeah, makes sense to me. Well, tomorrow's training camp. Tomorrow's when bumps and bruises start. Tomorrow's when you're actually going to start playing basketball. And
Tomorrow's when that I thought we was teammates start.
yeah, exactly. But in reality, tomorrow's when the competition starts. And so I think that's going to be the interesting thing. Like a lot of these guys
Yep.
came in, they feel confident, like they know where they want to be, they know what they need to do. I think Hamadou, like was a guy that, it even seemed like, he's like, yeah, just, like I know Alec Burks talked about, yeah, just figuring out what our role is, figuring out like what that is, like getting that a little bit more defined. Hamadou, like I don't really know if he knows what his role is this year entirely either. Like I think there's just a lot
Yeah.
still yet to be figured out with this roster. And now that we've had this entire offseason to speculate on where they could go. And today we hear and see the vision of what they want to do. Now, this next couple weeks is figuring out how the puzzle pieces fit together and what things could possibly look like opening night.
Yeah, they didn't talk much of lineups, and all of the players continue to revert back. Hey, that's Coach Casey's job, but I'll do whatever he asks me to do. My job is to just make sure I'm remaining versatile, make sure I'm playing hard on defense. These guys know what their agenda is, and they spoke to it well. And that's what you want to hear on a media day. On a media day, it's not necessarily how good are the answers, how flowery, how fluffy are they the types of answers that are going to, go viral. It's are they echoing your coach and your GM? That's
Right.
the most basic on media day. Are they saying what the coach and the GM are saying? Because if they're not, then what is it going to look like in the season? What is it going to look like then? Let me see here. As it relates to Killian Hayes and his position on the team this year, not as it relates to point guard or not, but starting versus bench, he says, it doesn't really matter. I just want to help the team win. So if it's coming off the bench or starting, I'm with it.
Yeah.
And to some people in a vacuum, I saw some people who thought he was kind of just backing down from it, from actually wanting to start. No, the sense I got from his press conference is that he's going to give it his all. He's going to give it his all. He's going to make sure that if somebody's starting ahead of him, that person earned it. And that's the type of competition that you want in a training camp. What are you going to say, Sean?
Yeah, no, and like, in addition, just talking about like that type of conversation and those things you type of want that you want going into training camp. I just think, like Killian, he talked about how it really doesn't matter to him because at the end of the day, like it's about, contributing wherever he can. And the ultimate thing we saw last year when Killian was starting, he wasn't really finishing a lot of games. But when he got moved to the bench, he actually was playing in a lot of fourth quarter minutes in key situations to end the game. So,
Yeah.
even though Killian might not be starting games right away, he is going to be someone. It sounds like Killian could be poised to be our sixth man. And if that's the case, he's someone that could come in. That 3-guard lineup is something that could lean pretty heavy on. And depending on certain nights, it could be him, Ivy, and Cade out there. There could be nights where Ivy will be on the bench and they could rely on Cade and Killian still. Like, I think a lot of people are reading into Ivy being in there and being like, oof, like poor Killian. But like,
Yeah.
I don't think people realize it's like, I was listening to like the Ben Simmons podcast he did with JJ Redick last week, where he was just talking about like what it's like his thoughts on not being a natural scorer. He's like, I'm a winner. I just go out, I just try to win. Like I do all these other things. Like,
I like
shouldn't
his
that
podcast
matter?
the
And
other
I
day.
think that's just, and I think at the end of the day, it's like, Killian, like he's never gonna care about what his points per game is. But he does care if his shot is affecting his team. He does care if his shot is affecting winning. And that's where he wants to become a better scorer. And that's where the mindset, you could just tell, he's matured in that sense. And he has a sense of clarity and purpose and confidence in where he needs to go. And that's something that we haven't seen, in his entire time in the league. So it's refreshing to see.
When Killian knows where to be, and it's those certain matchups that we can all count out. We all know there's certain matchups in the league where
Every night he faces Trae Young. Oh, sorry, that was just something in my system. Just
that one and out in Sacramento. You just see it. We know he's strong enough. We know he has the handles. He got to work on the shot. But when he's comfortable, we see a different Killian. And that just speaks to the fact that he has to learn the game more, which
Yeah.
I believe this summer has been a great one for him. You're talking about coming in as a more mature player, a player who during his press conference, he said, coming in like a lot of these guys, they didn't know what to expect. Even Cade Cunningham said, the best thing about getting through my first year, he was like, I didn't know what to expect from the amount of games played, the road trips, the travel. He said, now I know. He said, and now I knew how to prepare my body and my mind for it coming into the season. And it leads into something that Corey Joseph was talking about with Cade Cunningham. Kojo, he came in and honestly, he kind of brightens up the room every time he walks in, man. Funny dude. Shout out to Kojo. I know he's kind of life of the team, and he's really trying to make sure that these guys have a good mentor and veteran presence. But on Cade Cunningham, he said, I think we're getting a much improved Cade from last year. Sean, what?
So
What does that even mean, brother? Break this down for us.
Yeah. So one quote from Dwayne Casey that we saw today, even, there's been very reports of Cade gaining anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, right?
You can see it.
And Dwayne Casey said that when he first saw him, when he came back in, he didn't even recognize him. And, I think that was something that I even, was even meaning to like text you about today and talk about. I noticed that the Cade Cunningham in today's press conference to me was borderline unrecognizable compared to the Cade Cunningham that was this time last year, because this time last year in media day, Cade shows up, he's kind of excited. It's about like his first season, setting goals, ambitions, like preparing for the grind, understanding what's coming. This year, he's locked in on a different level, and it didn't look like, and to me, it didn't look like Cade talking like a second year player. That looked like a fourth or fifth year player as far as his demeanor, his answers, his understanding, talking about like turning over the ball. I think, with his IQ, we know that's inherently going to be better this year, but I think he could potentially take like a step. I think he could be like potentially a year ahead in that category compared to most year 2 players, right?
Yeah.
I think there's certain areas of his game where I think he's going to be advanced compared to where a lot of guys are at in year 2. So I think it's just when you look at his demeanor, he looks incredibly confident. When you look at his physicality, he looks like he's way bigger. It's like this past year, you can just tell he just, all those losses, all those bumps, all those nights, he was taking notes. And, each and every night, you can just tell they were coming up with a plan and assessing for what this summer was going to be. We thought this was going to be a big summer for Cade. It did wonders for him. You could just tell from his demeanor.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey actually talked about the fact that this is a year that Cade Cunningham will be posting up guards. He was like, not that he didn't kind of do it last year, but he was like, no, he said he got into camp. That boy been working. He was like, we got into the gym. I tried to play some defense on me. He said he's gonna put that body on me. Pause. And he went to work. And I was just like, dang, like I can't wait to see what Cade Cunningham is going to be coming into this year. But I want to talk about Sadiq Bey just a little bit. The one thing that I kept hearing, the only other theme other than like competing and winning this year that I kept hearing that was probably said just as much or intimated just as much was the brotherhood or the family like atmosphere that they have, that they want to continue to build upon. And Sadiq Bey said, quote unquote, we love each other and we all build that camaraderie every day. I just wanted to bring that type of stuff up. And there's other quotes from these guys. They said, Cade talking about how, certain teammates will make it easier on him every day. Talking about Jaden Ivey. He's super excited. They're talking about how they're all focused on playing to win. If we play as hard as we can, the wins will take care of themselves. And there are other quotes going into further how much their bond and their brotherhood, their family tight and all of that is. How much does that play into this team's chemistry to start the season and start training camp for you?
It's a big impact. I think, a lot of those guys alluded to the fact that, guys would fly out, and it
Mhm,
almost made it a point every week to be playing together in some form. So the Rico Hines footage that we saw, the Rico Hines clips, that wasn't a one-off. This is something that they made a point to be together on a regular basis this summer.
mhm.
And, Troy Weaver even talked about how, this was even his first normal off season as well, like with all the precautions and all the, restrictions being lifted for them
Mhm.
to, have points where they can spend time together and hang out in the summer. And whether it's on the court or off the court, a lot of the teams that we see that were great, had that camaraderie off the court.
Yeah.
People, I look back, one of the things that I remember distinctly in my childhood was the '08 Celtics, when before the season they took a team trip to Europe for like a month before training camp. And like
Yeah.
they talk about how fundamental that trip was and how foundational that was to them winning that championship, because they developed that bond. And I think you look at this team, like obviously, like that's not something that's like regular. That's not, not every team just goes out to Europe for a month, right? But
Yeah.
what this team did do is make it a habit and make it a case to be together. And this is a group that, even though like a lot of these guys will be competing against each other for spots, it looks like a group that still is competing and rooting for each
Yeah.
other, and
Supporting.
has,
Yeah.
yeah, and they want the best for one another. And a guy like Killian Hayes could totally have been dejected by now and asked for a trade, and have been, you guys drafted another point guard, because a lot of guys, if they come into a situation and they
Yeah.
and someone gets drafted from the same position 2 years in a row, they're like, all right, well, like I know what you're telling me what the vision is, but like even I'm like, all right, what's going on here? But the fact that like they have guys bought in, it's like, doesn't really
Yep.
matter if I'm starting or if I'm
And they
sitting,
said Troy is pushing it. They say Troy is pushing a family atmosphere from the top, and that's what you
Mhm.
continue to hear. And that's why I wanted to just to bring that up really quickly, because it is going to matter. I know that a lot of us we talk about it like, oh, of course, it's going to matter to their chemistry, but these guys are guys more so than just saying it. You don't think that at every media day these guys are saying the same thing, but we always see some of these teams come out and they absolutely look like there's no hope for their future. But with these Pistons, with everything, you could see that they've been working. You could see guys physically look different. Ahami Diallo is an interesting one, and we'll get to him and what we expect. But you know what? The most interesting, not the quote of the day, but the most interesting quote was for me today?
What's that?
Isaiah Stewart. He was the most interesting interview, because he's the one that I hope is that starter next to Duran for a very long time.
Yeah.
But he's the one that has to answer the questions.
Yep.
Obviously, Duran has to prove it too, but we're trajectorizing where we believe he'll be. Based on what we've seen from Isaiah Stewart, the best of him, yes, he's that guy. And I continue to try and think of who's the best comparison. You know who he compared himself to? Not compared. You know who he said he's watching?
Al Horford.
Al Horford, man. That's a great comparison. That's a great comp for him. That's a
And that's
great comp for him.
and that's been something that he's been discussing with the team, and
Mhm.
something that he's been looking at since around and even before the finals. And
Yeah, his
so,
quotes here. He said, speaking to the staff, I think they're expecting me to shoot threes and space the floor. He said, I worked on my three-point shot a lot, but if there's a player I look at, it's Al Horford. Within that context, he also talked about the fact that Al Horford can do a little bit of everything, and
yeah,
that Al Horford is a defensive player.
yeah, and
He's
he
the guy
talked
that's going to
about
get tough on the center.
and he talked about how whether he's and the thing that makes Al Horford great is whether he's playing the 4 or the 5, he's effective nonetheless, and he's versatile in his play style, and he can do whatever you need him to do. And I
Yeah,
think and I think with Beef Stew, I think if he can develop that skill, because Al Horford's one of the more skilled centers we've had in this league, like in a long time, like one of the more skilled 4 and 5 men that we've had. If he can develop in that area, I know you and I are confident in his mechanics, in his form, in his jump shot,
yeah,
but if he can have that skill and that versatility of an Al Horford with the tenacity and the energy of a Ben Wallace. That's why that roster is tantalizing. That's why the pairing of Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren is definitely something you're going to be experimenting with. But also, it sounds like it's pretty clear that, like, not only is he expecting a continuation of that work he did in the summer and at the summer league, but it sounds like the team is planning
Mhm.
on doing that experimentation as well, even with the Bojan Bogdanovic trade. So,
Yep.
that shows that, it seems to me like that Bojan trade is something that they were keeping an eye on for a while. It sounds like this is something they had been anticipating. So it seems like that was part of their plan. So I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Isaiah Stewart will definitely be improved. You can ask any of my teammates that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, bro. But with Beef Stew, I believe this is going to be a big year for him. One of the things he mentioned is that the team wants him to still be able to guard on that perimeter. So not just shoot threes, but to also be able to play the other way as well. I don't know what this does for their versatility in their lineups. If they're going to have small ball lineups where they're able to push him even into that 3 spot, I don't know, and play something crazy. But if he proves proficient both ends of the court on the perimeter, while he continues to make strides on the defensive end and with rebounding and paint protection, he becomes honestly one of the most versatile players on the Pistons roster.
Yeah.
Period. And I didn't see this path or this trajectory at the beginning of it.
Yeah. And it shows again, part of what it means to be like a Troy Weaver guy, in my opinion.
Ooh,
It's not just
preach
like,
to him, Sean.
well, it's not just like the character of being like, because a lot of people just hear Troy Weaver guy and it's like, oh, he's just such a great young man, like a grandma wants to like pinch him on the cheek.
No,
But like
he's
in
in that mean
reality,
guys, bro.
like the other thing too is that, like, these guys are coachable. These guys take criticism. These guys work on their games. And like a guy like Isaiah Stewart, he's not stupid. You want to know, he's like, okay, how can I keep a job over the long term in this league?
Yeah.
I got to shoot the 3. I got to be able to do multiple things on the court. That's where he can grow. My boy Jeff
Shout out
Iafredi,
that.
we will see him in a few minutes because we're going to be recording the From Half Court pod here pretty soon.
Ooh, yeah.
Heck yeah,
Yep.
man.
I wanted
Yep.
to get on this Jalen Duren comment really quick. He said, because there was some question around the time of the draft when we drafted him. Where is he going to play? Is it going to be with the Motor City Cruise? Is he going to spend any time down there? Then everyone started to see his highlights, and now everyone is just like, yeah, he's definitely going to be the center of the future. He said, I can be out there and prove myself my rookie year. I don't think Jalen Duren has any plans of going to the G League, sir.
He is going to be getting playing time opening night. He will have about 10 to 15 minutes at least to start the season. And I think he's going to be that guy. I think it's going to be reminiscent to Beefs too, his rookie year, where in his bursts of playing time, it was like, all right, he should be playing more. And I think with Jalen Duren, I think it's just going to be more explosive version where you just look at him on the court and it's like, holy, all right, we got to get this guy some more playing time. We got to figure that out. But I think as well, like I think what you saw is that not only are they looking to compete, but I think the key quote that Troy Weaver said about that is that about the competing thing is that in order to get to contention, you first have to compete. And so they're not talking about getting to the top of the mountain. When they say compete, that doesn't mean you have to be winning a championship right away. But rather it
You know what
means
they referenced?
the
They
Memphis Grizzlies.
referenced that stretch of games that we continue to tell people was very, very important. They referenced that post All-Star break. They said, look at who we were during that stretch. Look at who Cade was during that stretch. Yeah, I thought that was a really, really interesting thing because we continue to state, is this who the team is? Is this more of who they are? Because if that's who they are, then we need to change or at least expect a little bit differently from what the Pistons are going to bring in the 2022-2023 season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I still think there's a lot that still needs to be determined. They still haven't been able to announce the officially announce the Bojan trade yet, so that still needs to go through. So there's definitely A lot to be figured out with the beginning of training camp. Like we said, comes the competitions that will be there on a day-to-day basis, figuring out who's going to start when and where. And again, I think one last takeaway that we can kind of take before we, start heading to record the spot here in a few minutes. But, one thing they said was we're going to start, we're going to be looking to compete. We're going to be putting the best players out there, regardless of age. And so I think, one thing that you're going to expect is they're going to be looking at these players' performances, and it's not just going to be a gimme for a guy like Jaden Ivey, like to be the starter day one. Like he's going to have to earn that this camp, and I'm confident he can. If I'm a betting man, I'm confident he will. But again, it shows the shift in mentality that they talked about, how these last 2 years was breaking it down to the studs, and now it's at ground zero. It's time to start competing. It's time to start going up from here. And that's where it shows that shift in mentality.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. The only other player I want to just, I guess, touch on really quick is just Hamidou Diallo, bro. What are you expecting from Hami? Just for the people.
It's interesting because it almost sounded like at one point that he was like wanting to be the starting two. You know what I mean? Like but I just don't see a world where that's going to happen. At least not day one. Like it's hard pressed for me to picture a lineup that doesn't have Caden Ivey in it night one. And it's not like you're not going to take Sadiq's spot. You're not going to play the 4. You're not going to play the 5. You know what I mean? So I think with him, he has the ability to come in and really have an impact. It was interesting listening to him talk. I was like, it wasn't really like a different off season for him, but it was like the best one he had. I think he talked about how he was enjoying getting together with the guys, and I think he's excited about the roster they have as well. I'm just interested to see how much he actually worked on the improvements of his game, the tweaks on his shot. It's like, he was one of those guys where it's like, yeah, we all know what we need to do, which is great, but you're not going to actually know if he knows what he needs to do until you see it on the court.
Until you see it.
Right?
For me, go on, Fed. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to real quick say, again, he's just one of those guys that, he has to find, his spot in this core. I think, I still think Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey are firm believers in him. And that's why he's here. But I think at the same time, I think it's just one of those things where, like we can't have slumps like at the beginning of the last year where he wasn't really trying his hardest on the defensive end. And quite frankly, if we're going to start competing, even though we have more shooters, he still needs to be able to have some form of a jump shot too. So, it'll be interesting to see.
With Hamidou Diallo is this. Before I even see him get there, even though I want to see him with some form of a three-point shot and I want to see him take some of these steps forward in improving his game, I need to just take it to the basics with him, man. Whoever he was when he first got here and that promise that he gave us, he needs to be able to play at least like that guy. Mm-hmm. That guy, and let me be fair, he had a stretch of games this past season. We covered it in one of the table talks, and Rod brought it up in one of the Woodward Pistons podcasts. He had a stretch of games that was very promising. One of them was a win against the San Antonio Spurs, where he was literally playing with the G League roster that night, where they had to call up a lot of people, and he just went bananas. And during that stretch, he had a lot of games where he was scoring between 10 and 17. He was playing his role because he was playing to his strengths. If he can just go out there and be the scrappiest, defensive player while he's out there, run the floor hard, and just be available. Be available. I believe that he's going to have a very, very successful season. And then when you start talking about improvements and such, it just makes everything better from there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again,
we're talking about Hamidou Diallo.
Yep. And again, I saw someone bring up the fact that, having the spacing is only going to help him. It's only going to help all the athletes on this team as well. And like they touched on it in that press conference as well. Like, we're more athletic, this team's better. Yeah. And I think the ultimate thing is, I think we're poised for a competitive season. And I think that's the expectation. That's the mentality. And most importantly, I think today, if there's anything that I feel pretty comfortable saying, any of this tanking talk can be put to rest. That's not the mentality of this organization at this point moving forward.
No, they all were preaching it. Win, 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 win. Definitely head over to woodwardsports.com. Check out the latest articles. You're gonna have some more articles coming. I'm gonna be doing an article on Troy Weaver's first draft class, Killian Sadiq and Isaiah Stewart, and it's going to be supported by some of the articles that Sean is going to be writing as well. So your Killian article is going to be a part of this series that's going on, as well as the Troy Weaver, Dwayne Casey say Detroit Pistons are ready to compete every night. That's on there, and Sean did a great job with this assignment on the Bob Lanier honoring that the Pistons are going to be doing. Definitely go to the website to check that out, to learn more about it and everything. And look, we're going to continue to try and work hard. Let us know what it is you all want covered. Let us know what angles. Give us your questions, all of that. And we're ready to just rock out this year, man. We're pissed to the moon.
Expect this week a surplus of content just across the board on the writing side of things. Again, go over to woodwardsports.com. Anything Pistons related, that is a lot of the work that we are doing right there. So be sure you go and read and check out those articles. But in addition, be sure you're subscribing to From Half Court as well. Kool-Aid and I actually right now as we speak are heading over to record From Half Court for Wednesday. And we are going to be talking all things, media day, NBA world, Pistons. And yeah, man, got to have on the newest beat writer in the Pistons world. My God, Kool-Aid, boy. But
Thank you, brother.
Man. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, well, we got a great team, and let's keep supporting each other. Let's be a family. I was inspired by the Pistons today, but let's go, bro.
Yeah, let's go, man. Hey, thank y'all so much
for
tuning
in.
So
much.
Yep, this was a quick live stream, but we appreciate you all being here. If you're new, be sure you click that like button. Be sure you click that subscribe button, and be sure that you're following myself and Kool-Aid on Twitter so that you're catching all the latest Pistons coverage that we're going to be bringing all season.
And shout out to Jeff, shout out Deuce. You guys will be seeing them on this platform as well. I can't wait, brother.
Same here, man. Y'all take it easy. Eldon Campbell, Kool-Aid, and Sean Murphy out. Have a good one, and we'll catch you guys next time here on
anybody with the young Kobe? Young Kobe? Nobody? Please, man. Y'all about to make me get on my Black Kenny G real quick.
Oh, baby.
I just need like the saxophone or something. Hey, man, I love y'all, man. We out. Let's go, bro.